Hi everyone, Elsie Jensen here. Today we are going to make some carrot cake muffins and a barbecue chicken melt. We're going to start out with our carrot cake batter, and I'm going to be using 3 large carrots because I need about 1.5 cups of grated fresh carrots. You want to kind of grate your carrots small, so I know at the store you can buy shredded carrots, but those will just be too big and too tough in your carrot cake. And so I'm just going to peel these up, and then I'm going to use my finer side on my grater and grate these carrots up. I need about 1.5 cups. And I'm making about a half batch of it because I don't want a whole bunch of carrot cake, just a little bit. Carrot cake's one of my favorites, so I'm making it for my birthday. So I'm going to grate up 3 carrots, and I'm just going to use my fine grater part on it because I want my carrots to be pretty fine, because if you have them too big, they'll be really tough in our carrot cake. So if you can see, I'm using my finer one, not my super fine, but my medium size grate on here. I'm gonna grate these down, and then we'll add in 2 eggs, a cup of sugar, and a teaspoon of vanilla, and 3/4 cup of melted butter. And we'll add those in, mix it together, and then we'll mix in baking powder, baking soda, and salt. Give it a good stir, and then some flour. There we go. It doesn't take long to grate up your carrots. It goes by really fast, and fresh carrots will be much more tender and juicy. Here we go. And if you see inside your grater, you always have a lot in there, so I always like to give it a good scrape as well. And then we're gonna go to our next carrot. Grate this up, a little bit of elbow grease. You could also put them in a food processor, but that kind of makes more of a carrot pulp. And I find just a fine grate makes the most, I feel like the best carrot cake. Because you still want to have like chunks of carrots, just not a whole like carrot stick in your carrot cake. But it's one of my favorites, which is why I want to make it. Nobody really else in the family likes carrot cake like I do, which is why I'm just making a small batch. But it's my birthday, so I get to decide what cake I make. And I'm actually normally not a huge cake fan, but I do love carrot cake. There we go. And when I'm grating, I don't worry about getting too close to the stub. I'll just toss that out simply because I don't want to accidentally grate my hands. So now you can see we were actually pretty close. I probably won't even need this whole carrot. Those 2 carrots have probably given me about a cup of grated carrot, and I need 1.5. So I'll just do a little bit more on this one, and then we'll add in some eggs and some melted butter and vanilla and sugar. So you always start out with your wet ingredients, and you're going to mix your wet ingredients together. Okay, that is about 1.5 cups. So I'll just move these out of my way. And then we are going to add in 1 cup of white sugar, granulated sugar. And I'm going to just stir them up in my carrots first. They'll help bring out some of the carrot juices. So just give them a nice stir. And look, those, you can tell they're nice fresh carrots because they've got a really bright orange color to them. There we go. So I'm just going to stir those up. And now I'm going to add in 3/4 cup of melted butter. You could use oil if you like. I find that melted butter just gives a nicer texture and flavor in my baked goods, and so I prefer to use it over oil. And we will stir in our melted butter, just making sure we get all that sugar dissolved. And now I'm going to crack in 2 eggs. And again, this is like a half batch for carrot cake, not a full batch. And I'm gonna pop my yolks and I'm gonna stir those in. And then we're gonna add in 1 teaspoon of vanilla. There we go. And you wanna use vanilla extract, not imitation vanilla. There. And vanilla extract is simply made by soaking vanilla beans in alcohol. That's how extract is made, is whatever extract you have, it's that like a lemon peel soaked in alcohol makes a lemon extract. Vanilla bean soaked in vanilla makes a vanilla extract. There we go. Stirring it in nicely. So now we have all of our wet ingredients mixed in here. And now before we add the flour, because I don't like to take the time to sift together baking powder and baking soda in my flour, I'm actually gonna mix them into my wet ingredient and get them stirred around. And that way they won't be in like clumps in the flour. So I'm gonna start off with a half a teaspoon of salt. And then I need 1 teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And these are going to interact with the eggs, and this is what's going to cause our cupcakes to rise. And then a teaspoon of baking powder. There we go. And then a teaspoon of cinnamon. And when I do a teaspoon, it's going to be like an overflowing teaspoon because I want a lot of that good cinnamon flavor in my cake. So it'll probably be closer to like 1.5, but a nice heaping spoonful of cinnamon. And we're going to give this a good stir. Mixing it all around and just making sure it's thoroughly incorporated and that we've gotten the baking soda and the baking powder completely mixed up into the liquid ingredients. And this just, if you pour the baking soda and the baking powder in the liquids first and mix it well, this just gets rid of having to sift the baking soda and baking powder in the flour. So it just cuts out a step, which is nice. So nice stir. And now I'm going to add, it's all mixed up, 1 cup of all-purpose unbleached flour. You could use cake flour, but you would need just a little bit more. Cake flour is essentially flour that's just milled a little bit finer and then sifted. So there we go. So I'm going to put 1 cup of all-purpose flour in, and we'll give it a good stir. And I do have my oven preheated to 350
You have
degrees.
a question. What are you making?
We are making carrot cake cupcakes with a cream cheese frosting. And then I'm going to make a smoked cheddar and barbecue chicken melt for lunch. But today is my birthday, so, and carrot cake is one of my favorite cakes. So that is what I'm making today. There we go. So I've got a nice, mix it around, and then last but not least, we are going to add in some chopped pecans. So we're gonna use about a half a cup of chopped pecans. I think this is one of the reasons why my kids don't like it, because they're not a big fan of nuts inside their stuff. So about a half. Where did I have a measuring cup around here? Well, I thought I had one, but I'll just eyeball it. About a half a cup, which is going to be about a handful. And we're going to just mix it in and just kind of give it a little fold into our carrot cake batter.
How many kids do you have?
I have 5 kids. And I think maybe 2 of my kids will eat these with me, but it's my birthday, my choice. They would have preferred a chocolate or vanilla cake of some sort. And now I'm going to line my cup, or my muffin tin, or my cupcake tin. And we're gonna just add these in here. Again, this is like a half batch of carrot cake recipe. So if you wanted to make like a full carrot cake, you would just double it. I just cut it in half because I don't need a full carrot cake to myself. Let me get a spoon. And we're gonna scoop up our little muffin tins. And I do have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. Also, the nice thing about doing them as a cupcake is they cook faster and you don't have to let them cool as fast before you dress them with the icing. Also, sometimes when I do make a full-size carrot cake, I'll add in some pureed pineapple. I think it adds just a nice little texture and another little acidity to the cake, which is also really nice. But today I didn't have any. My pineapple's not quite ready to cut up yet, so.
What kind of icing are you going to use?
I'm going to make a cream cheese icing, so I will be using 2 sticks of butter with one or about 8-ounce package of cream cheese, and then vanilla and powdered sugar, and we will whip that together. Carrot cake is served best with cream cheese icing. That's just how I've always had it. And I think that's maybe why I love the cake so much, is because I do love cream cheese icing. And then I'll go back through and my goal is to make all of my cups about evenly filled so that they bake up. So I'm gonna go back through and put a little bit more in each one. And this full recipe would probably make like, I wanna say, a double layer, like for a round circle. So like an 8x8, you'd have 2 good size 8x8s.
You got lots of happy birthday wishes.
Oh, well, thank you. You know what I'm happy about? Ever since COVID, they changed the they changed the Super Bowl to be a week later, and I no longer have to share my birthday with the Super Bowl. I used to always, it was not every year, but every couple of years my birthday would be on the Super Bowl, which means I never got to do what I wanted to do on my birthday because I was always throwing a Super Bowl party or making things. So I'm actually really happy that it is no longer near my birthday. It's always going to be a week away. But now on the other fact is my brother, his birthday now falls on the Super Bowl every couple of years. But you know what? Better him than me. There we go. And I'm going to scoop all these.
You got a question?
Up.
Who are you rooting for in the Super Bowl?
You know what? I don't know. I feel like we've rooted for these teams over and over for the last couple of years. You know, my team is the Vikings. I love the Vikings. I've been rooting for them forever. And yes, I know they're terrible and they never win. But those are my favorite. But I don't know. I mean, part of me would think it would be cool for the Chiefs to win 3 in a row. But that's simply for them to win 3 in a row. But I also I don't feel like I have for anyone. I feel like, it's got to be really interesting for the Kelsey family with, I know Jason doesn't play anymore, but that's still his team. We are going to pop these in the oven for about 15 minutes or so, and we'll bake them up, and then we're going to work on our grilled cheese and our frosting. So pop these in. I'm going to set my timer. And now, let's see, I think we can start on our grilled cheese. So we're going to use the sourdough bread that we baked up last night, and we had with our dinner when we made our cottage pie. So we have about half of it left. And I'm going to be using rotisserie seasoned chicken and smoked cheddar and a little bit of barbecue sauce. And I'm just going to make a kind of a barbecue chicken melt.
How long are you cooking the cupcakes for?
About 15 minutes. I will check them and see if they need a little bit more or not. I always check them before it's kind of stated to make sure that they don't get overdone, because overbaked goods are just terrible. And now we're going to make our barbecued chicken things, and then we'll whip together our frosting for our cupcakes. So this is our sourdough bread that we finished off last night. I was worried it might not turn out because we got really sick over the weekend. And so I had it bulk proof in my fridge for like almost close to 50 hours. But it turned out still fantastic and great. So we're cutting these up. And I'm gonna save the rest of this. We'll make some good toast. And we're gonna start by spreading butter on just one side of each slice of my bread. And this is so it's going to crisp up nicely. And again, this is why I always leave butter out on my counter so I have nice soft butter. Which is what you need for spreading. You could always try to soften it in the microwave first, but it just never turns out. So we always have butter just left out on our counter all the time. We used to have a really big dog. His name was Rollo, and he weighed like 150 pounds. And for a while, I kept thinking my family was going through a stick of butter every single day. And I was just like, who is eating all of this butter? We can't be eating that much butter. And I kept thinking, okay, maybe my husband's just really overloading the kids' toast or something with it. It turns out my dog could get up on the counter and he used his nose to flick off the butter dish. And then he would eat the whole thing of butter, and he then it would just be clean and perfect. And I just thought somebody kept using it all, but he was just licking our butter dish clean. And it took us about like 2 weeks to figure it out. And he gained a little bit of weight in that time, but he was a clever dog. Stupid, but clever. So I'm gonna just do a little drizzle of barbecue on our thing. And then I like to do it on the bread just to bring in the flavors. And then I'll put a little bit more on the chicken. So I'm just gonna give it a nice spread. There we go. And then I'm gonna be using some smoked cheddar. I think this pairs really nice with the barbecue chicken, like with the chicken and the barbecue sauce. It just kind of gives you a smokehouse feel.
What state are you in?
We are in Tennessee. And right now we are having a beautiful day. I'm actually airing out my house because it is gonna get up to 70 degrees today, which is so nice. Sometimes, in the winter, your house can get very stuffy, and I am very happy to at least get some fresh air coming in. And then I'll split this one in half. And also my trick with my melts, I make sure that I don't have any of my cheese hanging over the edge, because that will just drip down and burn on your skillet. And we don't want that. And then we're gonna use some just rotisserie chicken. If you had leftover chicken or chicken breast, you could also chop that up and put it on here. Where? I can open it. Oh, there we go. Nope, let me get a knife. It doesn't wanna open for me. It has, oh, I see it now. Lift here. It's like the Oreos. Then when they changed their opening system, and I kept them like, oh, these are terrible. They should be resealable. They were for the longest time. I just didn't realize it. And now I'm just gonna spread my chicken out fairly thin. I'm gonna use about 4 slices per each one. I don't wanna get my meat too thick, otherwise it won't heat up.
Could you use rotisserie chicken for this?
Yes, you could use rotisserie chicken. Any chicken you have, you could use it. It will work well with it. You'll just wanna make sure you do a nice chop on it so that you don't have really huge chunks. And sometimes, and be more careful with the flipping. With the flipping on rotisserie chicken, you might have a little spillage out the side. So just when you're flipping, just use a fork and help with that flip. But yes, I happen to have this sandwich meat. We just did a grocery order in. But yes, I've done it with rotisserie chicken, or like the Costco, you can get that bulk rotisserie chicken there. And then I'm gonna give it another little drizzle of barbecue sauce. You don't need too much, just a little. And you could use whatever barbecue sauce you want. I like the hickory brown sugar, Sweet Baby Ray's, that's my favorite. And then we need another layer of cheese. There we go. Beautiful. because of any grilled cheese or melt, the cheese is always the star. And that's why it's also, if you, you could get they make thin cut cheese in the grocery stores. Those also work great. So you don't have to necessarily use as much, but you're getting the nice layer. And then we'll pop our thing on, and I'm gonna turn my skillet on to about a 6.5 or 7-ish and let it cook. I'll turn it down in a little bit, but I want it to heat up first. And now, let me clear this area off, and we're gonna work on our frosting. So just let me clear this stuff out of the way. We're gonna be using 8 ounces of cream cheese and 2 sticks of butter. You can use half and half butter, or half butter, half cream cheese, but I kind of like the texture of butter cream better over just a cream cheese half and half. So I use 2 to 1 ratio. So you need softened butter for this. So I have my butter that's been sitting out on the counter. And then I've let my cream cheese I pulled it out of my fridge a while ago. And then powdered sugar, and then some vanilla extract. Where are you? Right here. Okay, let me get a spoon to scoop this out. And this is, well, I'm not gonna lie, this is a little shy under 8 ounces because we used them on a bagel. So, but you would typically use an 8-ounce pack. But I was really craving a carrot cake, and I wasn't about to go out to the store for any more ingredients, so we used what we had, and we had everything. And then I'm gonna put my butter in. And I also I'm a person who loves a lot of frosting on my cupcakes, which is also very different from the rest of my family. I love, if you've ever heard of the Gigi's cupcakes, where they have that huge mountain of frosting. I love that because I love frosting, good frosting. I hate store-bought frosting or stuff that comes on those store-bought cakes. I think that tastes terrible. But good bakery frosting, I love. And we're gonna be using just a hand mixer, but you could use a stand mixer if you wanted. And I'm gonna whip up my butter and my cream cheese first. I'm gonna make sure they're mixed together well. There we go. And then I'm gonna add in about a teaspoon of vanilla, which will be, I'm just gonna use my cap. My cap is just under a teaspoon, so I'm just gonna use kind of a heaping capful. And then we'll whip that in, and then I'll slowly add in my powdered sugar. Now that we have that mixed in, I'm gonna add in my powdered sugar a little bit at a time. I used a small bowl because all of my bowls have gone missing over the weekend. I think they're just in kids' rooms from being sick. And we're gonna mix in a little bit at a time. If you add too much, you're gonna have a big cloud of powdered sugar go everywhere. So just a little at a time.
What's your favorite thing to bake?
My favorite thing to bake is probably cookies. I do love cookies because I love cookie dough. So a good chocolate chip cookie is, I think, delicious and my favorite. Let's see, I started to hear them sizzle, but they still need a little bit more, but the bubble is starting to melt. I'm just gonna rotate because I find my stove gets hotter at that end. And then I'm gonna add some more powdered sugar. I'm probably gonna be using about 4 cups in general, but I'm just gonna be adding it at about a half a cup at a time. And that's just so I don't have a big powdered sugar cloud. If I was using a really big bowl, I could add in a lot more. And And sometimes I will add a little bit of cinnamon to my cream cheese frosting if I want it to have just a little extra kick of spice. But that tastes nice. Like if I use cream cheese frosting on a spice cake, I'll add a bit of cinnamon. There we go. Delicious. Nice thick. I'm gonna give these guys a little flip now because I think they're about ready for their first flip. They're gonna I'm just heating up my first layer. So I'm gonna crisp them up one more time on each side. But what I always say is do 2 flips. The first one is to warm everything up. That way your meat and your cheeses will all melt. Otherwise what will happen is you'll get nice crisp bread, but the center of your sandwich will still be cold. So I kind of do 2 flips and make sure that the first time is really just to warm everything up, and then the second time is to get that nice golden crisp that I want. I'm gonna taste my frosting, see if I want it to be any sweeter. I think I'll add a little bit more. Just gonna give it
What's your kids' favorite meal?
Well, it really varies. My oldest daughter is into steak right now, so anything that involves steak. My son's favorite meal is my homemade ravioli. He absolutely loves that. My middle child, my daughter, Evie, her favorite meal is spaghetti and meatballs with garlic bread. And then I will say, sure what Teddy's favorite meal is. He loves a little bit of everything. And Jack, he's 1, so I don't think, he's just happy to get food. There we go. So now I'm gonna start warming them up to do the crisp on each side because I want them to be nice and have a golden thing on it. I just clean up a little bit of my area over here because, as usual, I made a mess. And then we have a nice, thick, dense, actually beating in air. So if I want to do a really light and fluffy buttercream, I'll do it on my stand mixer with a whisk attachment, and I will let it whip for like 10 plus minutes. Ooh, before we whip it though, here are things we'll check to see how our cupcakes are doing. My guess is they might need a few more minutes, but I always check to make sure, and I always give a little touch. And you see if they still jiggle, that means they're not quite ready. So these probably need about 3 or 4 more minutes. So I'm gonna put in 4 minutes, and that's why I always check. Some ovens cook fast, some ovens cook slow. Some things cook faster in your ovens than they do in the other ones. For some reason, my mom, she's a gas oven, and that oven is the slowest oven I've ever cooked in. Nothing cooks in it fast. So that's why I always tell everyone, just check. You can turn your light on and check. You can do the touch feel, but you need to always check because overbaked food is terrible, and of course, underbaked food doesn't do you any good either. Give it a nice, good whip. And this will be with my cream cheese frosting. I like it to be a bit more dense, so I don't whip it as fluffy as if I'm doing a buttercream. But nice. One of my favorite frostings to make is actually a Bailey's frosting. You put just a little bit of Bailey's in it, which is a coffee cream liqueur. Not much, but it just adds a new flavor profile, and it works really well with spice cake or even a vanilla cake or a carrot cake is worked well. That's one of my favorites. My kids don't like it, but I do love that little addition to it. Okay, so we've got our frosting right here, and I think these guys are ready for their flip. So we've gotten a nice, good, kind of crisping up. I'm gonna rotate because again, mine gets a little hotter here. And then I'm gonna get a pastry bag out and fill my pastry bag with frosting. I just buy them bulk, so I always have them, and I never use the pastry attachment. I just cut at the bottom. But if you don't have a pastry bag, you can use like a gallon size Ziploc baggie or smaller ones that you have and fill it up. That will give you a nice piping on and will make your cupcake look a lot more fancy than it really is. So I'm just opening it, and but I buy these like on Amazon in bulk. I buy like 100 pack at a time, and I just always have them on hand. But if you don't, for the longest time, I just use Ziploc baggies because, you know, I wasn't doing a lot of baking. But then I went through a couple years ago, I went through a huge baking stage. And I was like baking all my friends' cakes for them. I was doing like fondant and all the crazy stuff. And so I had some really, really cool cakes. And so I was doing them a lot, as well as doing macaroons. I made a lot of macaroons, and you kind of need piping bags for macaroons.
Do you make sandwiches every day?
A lot. It depends what I'm in the mood for, but I will say I'm a great lover of grilled cheese, and we make a lot of sourdough, so beautiful. I like to kind of use what we have. I love that. But I do make, in the summer, I will say I don't make grilled cheese as much. I will do cold sandwiches, like clubs and stuff like that, or salads. My husband does not care for salads, but I love salads. And I make lots of different types of salads. I will say my favorite salad is it's so simple. You just simply use arugula, some jarred pickled beets, feta cheese, lemon juice, and salt and oil. And you just dress your, nice, I'm gonna turn these off. You just dress your arugula with some oil and salt and lemon juice. And then you just sprinkle feta cheese and turning my skillet off. And pickled beets over it. And it is so simple, but it is so delicious.
You had a question. How does the family like their steak?
We medium rare. I think that's because that's all I've ever served. You know, when I first met my husband, he ordered his steak more of a medium. And, oh, these look about done. I'm gonna... I can see my back ones are done perfectly. But, yeah, I think we just taught them medium rare because that's how I eat it. And let me turn this off. And I think an overdone steak is like a shoe. But I think to each their own. But all of my kids, they don't like it overcooked. So I feel like I taught them well on that aspect. And when I make my steak, I use just a really basic seasoning on it. I just marinate it with Worcestershire sauce, garlic, salt, and pepper on both sides, and then I'll throw it on the grill. And that just makes the most wonderful, delicious thing. I think our grilled cheese, I will say our smoked cheddar and barbecue chicken melts are nice and ready here. So I'm going to pop off one onto our plate. And let me get a knife to cut it open. We got a nice cheese pull there. You can see the barbecue sauce going through. It's very hot right now, but I will get a little taste for you guys. Delicious. The smoked cheddar works really well with the barbecue sauce and the chicken. Now, I'm not going to coat all of my cupcakes because I do want to let them cool, but I'm going to coat one with the frosting so you guys can see how it's done. because I don't mind if it gets a little melty and oozy. I think that will be delicious. So all I'm gonna do is, let me get a scissor, and I'm gonna cut the bottom of my pastry bag here. Just a small little snip. You don't need a pastry piece in there. And if you have a Ziploc bag, you just cut it down there. And then you're essentially just gonna do a nice boop. And then for those of you who like a little extra nut on it, you can just sprinkle it with some nuts. And here is a delicious carrot cake cupcake with cream cheese frosting. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We try to do live meals every day for you guys to follow along. Don't forget to ask questions or make comments. Again, thanks for joining us here today. Also, all of our videos we do post on our link on our website, so you can get them there if you want to go back and cook any of our recipes. Okay, thanks.